What's up, everybody? Welcome into NBA DFS Live for Wednesday, February 3rd. I'm your host, Ben Hosser, joined by Justin Bales. Bales, we have another huge 10-game slate. I think there's a bunch of big slates like to finish out the week here, except for tomorrow, because there's I don't know. I haven't checked. I don't know if there's any games on Sunday because of the Super Bowl. If there is, it's probably only a couple. So probably trying to cram some games in here. There's a lot going on, man. There's a lot going on in the slate injury wise, and some stuff that we're waiting on, and probably some random stuff that we have no idea about that will probably pop up because that's generally what happens on 10-game slates. So I'll probably need your help here, but as far as like the big ones go, SGA is out for the Thunder, obviously, in addition to George Hill, who has been out. Kemba Walker, Peyton Pritchard, and Marcus Smart are out for the Celtics. LaMarcus Aldridge, Rudy Gay out for the Spurs. Russell Westbrook is out for the Wizards. And what other big ones am I missing that's already out? Because I'm going to talk about the guys that we're waiting on as well.
That are already out.
Yeah.
Larry Nance.
Yeah, Larry Nance is out for the Cavs.
No, that's a huge one. I think that might be. Did you say Rudy Gay?
Yeah. Him and Aldridge both out.
DeAndre Hunter's out.
Yes.
I think you basically hit everyone that's out.
Yeah. So those guys all out. We're waiting on D'Angelo Russell, which would bump up some of the Minnesota guys. Beasley, I think, would get a nice bump there if he was out. Andre Drummond, we're waiting on. You would lock in Jared Allen, I think, on both sides, even though he's more expensive. Jared Allen should be the same price as Drummond, like if Drummond's out. So still a discount for him. So that's a big one that we're waiting on. And like I said, there could be some more random stuff that pops up as well. So a lot going on, a lot of value. A lot of chalky value, I would say. So it is an interesting slate from a tournament perspective, but I think it should be fun. I think a lot of people are going to go stars and scrubs, and I think there's a lot of stars to spend up on, obviously, so we can kind of dive in here. At point guard, I'll let you start out here. Where are you going at the top of point guard today?
At the top, I feel like it's Luka. He's probably, honestly, my favorite spend up. I think you can make a case for Giannis, but Luka and Giannis are 1 and 2 for me. I think that I would probably slightly prefer Luka. On the back end, Trae Young, I feel like those two are always going to be tied together for the trade that they were both involved in. So this is kind of like a I'm better, know me type of narrative, I guess. It's not really like a revenge or anything, but a narrative where those two make really, really good options. Luka, cash or tournaments. Trae Young, just tournaments. And then up at the top, I feel like if I go around the 8K range, De'Aaron Fox at 8,500, Malcolm Brogdon at 81, and Victor Oladipo at 78 all really stick out.
Yeah, I agree. Luka was a cover boy for my article today. I think he is the best play on the slate. On DraftKings, Fanduel, he is significantly more expensive, so not as a must play there. But at 10-8 on DraftKings, he's second basically in DraftKings points this season behind only Jokic. Equals out to about 1.64 DraftKings points per minute. The Hawks and the Mavericks specifically have just been horrible defensively over the last couple weeks, and the Hawks can really struggle in transition. So I think it's going to be a back and forth game. It's only a 1.5 point spread, and I mean eventually the Mavericks. I know it's only February. The Mavericks need to win some games, and I think that Luka is going to get to the point where he just starts to take over, even more so than he has been. And I think under 11K is a value for him. So you can see we have him as the highest projected player on the entire slate over Giannis. But early ownership projections, Giannis is projected to be slightly over 20%. Luka was around 11 to 12%. So if you can get an ownership discount with him, I think you have to take that for sure.
Yeah, I agree with that. I feel like the high-end guys are solid options, but I don't know. There's so much value that it's tough to get there. Outside of obviously if you're just plugging in Luka, but like the mid-tier guys, I feel like DeJounte Murray at 6,400, someone that I really, really want to play. And the more that I look at building teams, it just seems like it's absolutely not going to happen the way that I want to make my teams. But in the mid tier, DeJounte Murray, 64, Eric Gordon, who's now point guard eligible at 54, I think makes sense. And then Kobe White at 61, I also like. But I don't know. I feel like it's just going to be really hard to get in that mid tier today.
Yeah, I agree. DeJounte is probably my favorite mid tier 64. With some of those Spurs guys out, he's my favorite mid tier guy there. So I agree with you. As far as like that lower upper tier, I really like De'Aaron Fox at 8,500. People will not play him at 8,500, which no one played him the other day when I talked about him on here. He's just really been taking over. Last 4 games usage rate is almost 40%. I mean, he's just been hyper aggressive, and I think that Boston's defense as a team will take a step back with Smart out. Obviously, Smart's not going to be on him now, which is a boost. And I really like a couple of the Boston guys, so just running it back with him makes sense. And then I like Brogdon a lot. I like Brogdon more than Sabonis today. He's only 8,100. Are you interested in that little revenge narrative there?
I like Brogdon, but you're not going to convince me to play him over Sabonis.
I don't know if I would play him over him just because of positional stuff, but like if it was like utilities only, I would play Brogdon, I think.
I would be fine with that in like tournaments because you get the ownership significantly lower. But if you're just saying raw points, I'll take Sabonis.
All right. What about Oladipo? I think Oladipo, obviously. Oh, John Wall being out is another one. I didn't mention at the top, but that obviously helps Oladipo. I mean, I don't really have anything bad to say. I think Dort will probably be on him, which is a negative, but I mean, he's been so good with Wall out. I have no problems with him in all formats, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Plus, they can just really run the pick and roll if they want to. Oladipo has been really good with Christian Wood, so that'll be a way to at least limit Dort being on him. So, no, I really like Oladipo too.
Yeah. LaMelo Ball, if Rozier's out again, I think you can play him in all formats. 7K is definitely expensive, but I'm cool with him if Rozier's out. So that's another bit of news that we're waiting on. And then Gordon, I think definitely is playable, which you kind of highlighted at 54. So do you have any cheaper options here? Like we got to talk about the Thunder guys, obviously, which we'll get to that.
Yeah, I think 2 options really stick out for their prices. The number one is Theo Maledon, who probably is going to be one of the higher owned players on the entire slate, as he should be. And the second one, who will most likely be much lower owned because he's a bit more expensive than Maledon, is Ish Smith, who's been playing really well, and with Westbrook out, should probably get around 28 to 30 minutes or so. And if that's the case, I mean, 4,800 is really cheap for him.
Yeah, so Russ is out, but Raul Neto also is out, and we've seen Neto kind of start for Russ a couple times this year, so that actually is underrated factor there for Ish Smith. And with all this news, like if you would have talked to us at like 8 this morning, when everyone was assuming Westbrook would sit out, like Ish Smith was who everyone was playing, but now that we have all this other news, I do think he's going to go a little bit under-owned. So I think that's a good call. Definitely on my radar. I think we can move to shooting guard though, correct?
Yeah, I don't think there's anyone else really.
All right, so where are you going here? I think like most people are gonna be playing like Maledon. You have Diallo as well, who we'll talk about. So I think most people will be saving. But there are some good options at the top, namely Bradley Beal with Russ out.
Yeah, if you're spending up, it's Beal. If you just kind of look at what he's done, especially on the road, the way that he's scoring, it's just absolutely insane. And if you look at Miami, I know everyone likes to think of them as like this elite defense. They really haven't been this year. They're not really like a team defense that would scare me away. So if you're spending up, it's Bradley Beal. Outside of that, like the majority of guys that I feel like I like, we also mentioned at point guard, like Maledon, Oladipo, Eric Gordon. But there are some other options. I think the number one you already mentioned is Hamidou Diallo. If he gets between 25 and 30 minutes at 4,500, it's just way too cheap. Outside of that, like your boy Lou Dort, I don't think I can do it. But I get it. I don't think he's a bad play tonight. I still don't think that I can go there. I don't know if you're like more on him than I am though.
No, he's I like Maladon, Diallo, Baisley, all more than Dort, I think, and even Horford, who isn't really like popping because he's like normal price. I actually probably like
Yeah.
him more than Dort too. So he is farther down. Like I don't have any issues playing him, but he's farther down my list. Beal's like far and away our highest projected value today in our projections, which you guys can see on the screen here. I told Bales before the stream he averages literally per 36 40 real points a game with Russ out, which is insane. Like, it's just insane to think about.
That's
Um,
great.
yeah, and like you said, I don't really even care really about matchups. Under 10K is just egregious. He should be over 10K. Like FanDuel actually has him at 10.8. I'm shocked. Can't believe he's appropriately priced on FanDuel, but he is.
Yeah.
Whereas he's 97 on DraftKings. So I have no problems with him if you can make him fit. And then you also have Depot at shooting guard as well, who we really like. But yeah, I think I like Eric Gordon's 54. I think I like him more than Dort at shooting guard as well.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the main thing is like Dort's 100 cheaper than Diallo, and there's no way that I would play Dort over Diallo tonight.
Yeah, I agree with that. Diallo second highest projected value at this position, so can agree with that.
I feel like two more guys. One, Josh Richardson's only 4,500, which is right around Dort and Diallo. You saw him in his last game. His usage shot up a little bit, and he was finally making his shots. I think he dropped like 40 fantasy points. It was finally got back to what Josh Richardson was supposed to do with Dallas, and he's playing minutes in like the mid to high 30s. And then, man, it's difficult to trust him. But Lonnie Walker's only 3,800 with multiple guys out. Take your shot on Lonnie Walker if you need a really cheap guy, but it is hard to trust him.
Yeah, I'm a Lonnie Walker fan, so I will not argue with you on that one. I think that's definitely interesting for tournaments. He's not going to garner much ownership. We can move to small forward. So you can see here on the screen top highest projected scores here. Kawhi, Jaylen Brown, Jimmy Butler. That would be something, man. That's all we need. I know Kawhi's been playing back-to-backs, but just like imagine we get that news like, oh, Kawhi's out. Like just completely screw the slate up even more.
Fantastic.
But we're assuming he will play. So no worries there. Brown and Butler I think are really interesting to me. Brown obviously is way cheaper on DraftKings, so he's popping as the best projected value here. I pulled up the numbers for my article because I wrote up Jason Tatum. So if you take Kemba, Pritchard, and Marcus Smart off the floor, Tatum has the highest minutes sample. It's over 70, and he's like 37% usage rate with 1.55 fantasy points per minute. Brown, much smaller sample size, only like 30 minutes, but his usage rate was slightly higher than Tatum's, and his per minute production was over 1.6. So, really good spot for both of them. You're assuming that they're both just going to take over. And I know the Kings' defense has been good for the last like couple games, but I mean, they were so bad for the majority of the season. It's tough to trust like a couple games. So I think Brown's probably the best play there, but I think Butler is really interesting. He's been super aggressive since he came back, and it's not like Washington can really defend anybody, right?
Yeah, well, I played Butler when he first came back against Sacramento because if you're like I don't want to say small because they're not exactly small, but if you can play basically guard and you're a scorer, the Kings can't guard you. And I really, really like Jimmy Butler, and I think he's an elite play. But that's Jaylen Brown, and he gets Sacramento. Jaylen Brown's arguably my favorite play on the entire slate as of right now. So there's almost no way that I don't play him, and it's going to be really difficult to also get Jimmy Butler. But I think Butler's going to be way lower owned, and he is really just an elite option.
Yeah, if you play Beal, I think you probably want Butler on the other side.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that.
But I like both of them as well. We didn't talk about DeMar DeRozan. He's 6,900. Obviously, a nice price tag there. But with Aldridge out, I mean, I don't think you can play him. I think I would find $1,000 to play Brown. Just because I like Brown's ceiling, I think is significantly higher than DeRozan's, even with Aldridge out. But I don't have any issues with playing DeRozan in cash games if he fits your lineup.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Quickly, someone asked, "What if OKC gets blown out?" It doesn't matter if they're getting destroyed. Their guys, Maladon's going to play his minutes. Diallo's going to play his minutes. Dort will play his minutes. Like the only guy that you might have to worry about is Al Horford.
Yeah, so I was kind of talking about this in Discord earlier. Like it doesn't feel great that like the Thunder without SGA are chalk against what has been the best defense in the NBA over the last like 2 weeks. Like it doesn't feel great, but it's not often that we get NBA teams as thin as what the Thunder are today because they have no George Hill, no SGA, and then they just sent like 4 people down to the G League bubble. So they're like even shorter than they like normally would be. So like Bale said, Maladon and Diallo, those guys are gonna play even if the game is out of hand. So I don't think it matters as much. And for cash, like it doesn't matter anyways.
Yep.
Another guy I want to mention here is Kelvin Johnson. I don't think he's going to garner much ownership at 6,100. But with those Spurs guys out, I think it's a bump to him. I think he can play. Like I think his minutes are relatively safe, and I like he's had some big games with Aldridge out this year, so I think he's really interesting in tournaments.
Yeah, I really like him in tournaments. Guys that I would also add in tournaments, Dorian Finney-Smith, just because he's so cheap. Like you're getting a guy that's going to play 30 plus minutes. Taurean Prince, I don't necessarily hate. And Denny Avdija is, just surprisingly cheap with Westbrook out. He will probably be a slightly bigger part of the offense, and he's coming off a pretty good game, super cheap, and 25 minutes isn't exactly ideal for a 10-game slate. But I do think that he comes with enough upside that you can get away with playing him if you have to.
Yeah, I agree. Denny, I think, is an interesting tournament play. I'm trying to look. I don't think any of these other guys really are on my radar today.
No, that's basically where I'm at too. I think on I don't know if he's small forward or not. I don't have it pulled up, but on FanDuel, Jayshawn Tate is like ridiculously cheap, so I would be cool with him. But on DraftKings, I think he's like 4,600 or something, and I'm not really going to pay. So for like a FanDuel only play, I do think that like Jayshawn Tate is fine.
You think it's a hot take if I say I like Keldon more than DeRozan?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's
pretty hot take. Pretty hot.
My
take.
hot take today. All right. We'll move on to power forward here. We can I don't think we need to bury the lead here. I think the chalk on DraftKings at power forward is Monte Sabonis, who is coming off a career night, 60 DK points, and for some reason he is 8,300 on DraftKings. I thought I was thought I was seeing things when I saw that price tag, but
the funny thing is he had 61 fantasy points and he only played 35 minutes, which for most people 35 minutes is a lot, but Sabonis tends to sit in like the 40 to 45 range some nights, and usually he's like at a minimum high 30. So 35 minutes is actually a little for what he plays, and he still put up the 61.
Yeah, so we have 3 really good plays at this position. Giannis being number 1, obviously, 11K, one of the best spend-ups on the slate. Sabonis, who I think is going to be one of the highest owned plays on the slate. And Jason Tatum. So I'll let you talk about Tatum a little bit. I kind of wrote about him, obviously, in my article, but I know you like him as well tonight.
Yeah, I mean, you alluded to it earlier. Without Kemba, without Marcus Smart, no Peyton Pritchard, they're going to need someone to handle the ball. And Jeff Teague just isn't going to play big minutes. So we're probably going to get more or less Jason Tatum point forward tonight. And I would assume that Jaylen Brown also handles the ball more. But Sacramento, Tatum's not going to get the great matchup that I expect Brown to get. But still, Sacktown doesn't really have anyone that's going to slow him down. So if he's locked into big minutes and he's handling the ball more, we know that his usage goes up pretty drastically, and he averages close to 1.5 fantasy points per minute, you said?
Yeah, it's 1.55 with those guys off the floor.
Yeah, that's. I mean, it just seems pretty obvious. I think the only concern is uh, if like Jaylen Brown decides that he wants to have a career night. I do think that is possible, and if that happens, Tatum, might go overlooked a little bit. But regardless, I feel like I'm most likely playing Brown and Tatum together because they play well together. Um, I know both are expensive, but I don't really have any issues with both of them hitting value in this matchup because Sacramento's defense, even though better recently, they haven't played any, decent offenses. So I would expect Boston to score plenty, and Tatum and Brown are going to be more or less just the entire offense, I guess is the easiest way to say it.
Yeah, so there's a lot of good plays here. Those three, DeMar, who we talked about, Kelvin Johnson, who we talked about, are eligible here. And then you have like Chris Stapps, I think you could play most slates. Zion, obviously, people like to play. Julius Randle, completely going overlooked at his price tag, but he is in play. So there's a lot of good options here. Do you have anyone like cheaper? I know we were kind of talking about Justin Jackson
Mhm.
with the Thunder news. He could potentially be a punt option, but do you have anyone else?
Nah, not really. Not that I haven't mentioned it small forward anyway. Outside, obviously Jackson, I think at 3K, if he gets 25 minutes or so, I do really like that. But no one that I didn't mention is small forward. Quickly, someone said, is Giannis worth 11 on FanDuel tonight? Personally, I think, yeah, he is. I have no problems whatsoever playing him. I think it's just a really good spot for him. But I also don't necessarily think at 11 you have to play him. I do believe he's a good play.
Yeah, so I probably prefer him to Luca on FanDuel. He's a couple hundred cheaper. Luca, I like more on DK because you get the 3 point bonus and he can hit some threes. You get triple double bonus, double double bonus, which obviously, he can get that. And on FanDuel, you get 3 points for blocks and steals, which you like a little bit more for Giannis. So I think I prefer Giannis on FanDuel to Luca, but DraftKings I like Luca more there. But I have no issues playing him if you want to.
Yep, I agree with that.
All right, we'll finish up at center. Giannis obviously center eligible on DraftKings. Sabonis center eligible on DraftKings. We talked about those guys. You have Embiid, Christian Wood, who I think is a super interesting play today. I don't think anyone's going to play him. I think people are going to be playing Sabonis, but I think Wood and Sabonis have pretty much the same ceiling, and Wood is going to be like way, way less owned. Like, I don't really think anyone's going to play Christian Wood today. So I think he's really interesting in tournaments. Drummond, if he's in, I think I would be interested for tournaments, but I would prefer Sabonis to him. I would prefer Christian Wood to him. Um, I don't know. Actually, yeah, I'm probably out on Drummond because I like those two guys a lot. If Drummond's out,
Yeah.
though, that's when we play Jared Allen. So
Yeah, I agree. And then we can wait on the San Antonio news. If Jakob Poeltl's starting, he makes a really good play. If Drew Eubanks is starting, Mem Price, he's a really good option. Other guys, I mean, you can take your shot on like Al Horford, but I don't know. He's probably not going to make my player pool. I think right around the same price, and it doesn't seem like anyone's going to play him because he gets a tough matchup, but do we care that much is Cody Zeller. And I know that like very clearly you're not going to play him in cash on DraftKings. He's 5'8", but on FanDuel he's absurdly cheap, and I feel like he's fine in cash on FanDuel. Whereas I would use him in tournaments on DraftKings, but I do think that he's actually a really good tournament play. My only issue is obviously the matchup against Philly is less than ideal, but if he's playing 30 plus minutes, does it really matter for 5,800?
no, I'm cool with him in tournaments for sure, and completely agree. Whoever starts at center for San Antonio, we're probably playing in cash. We're assuming it's Jakob Pertl, but it's Pop, man. I mean, he could do just
You could
some
do
random
whatever.
stuff, right? Like you
You
could
might
get
start DeRozan there.
yeah, you could get Pirtle, you could get Eubanks, you can get Trey Lyles. I mean, like, I don't know. They could do some random stuff. So we need that lineup. But whoever's starting at center, I like for sure. One other guy I'll bring up is Clint Capella, just because I love that matchup against Dallas for him. So I think you could play him and Trey together, and then Luka on the other side. So that's gonna like you're not gonna be able to spend up on anyone else. But I think for tournaments that's an interesting build because Capella is exactly the type of guy that could really like if they get him on Porzingis and they just run the pick and roll, it's not gonna be good for Dallas. So
Yeah, I like that too. He's so pricey. I'll add
I know.
DeAndre Ayton, I think is fine.
Yeah, I'm cool with Ayton. I like him more when like Booker's out, but I don't have any like real issues if you want to play.
Just to go with it, Steven Adams is obviously questionable, and if he's out, I told Ben prior to coming on here that it's unlikely that I play Jackson Hayes. There's just 10 games, and you don't have to go there for value. So, he was in a little bit of foul trouble in his last game, but he played 11 minutes. Like, you can push through foul trouble and play 20. So I really don't like that too much. Someone said Holmes against Boston with no paint defense. I'm fine with Holmes. It's just he's not someone that I'm really gonna make sure that I get in my lineups or anything. I just think he's like a decent play, I guess is the way that I would put it. But
yeah, if he was a little bit cheaper, I would like him. I think I prefer him to Horford though for 400 more.
I think I prefer Horford, but I feel like Holmes is safer, which is weird to say because Rashawn Holmes is anything but safe.
Yeah, I think he's a good play today. I actually think that matchup's kind of good, but not someone I would play in cash. I am upset we didn't mention Quickly, but Quickly's in the same matchup that he was in.
Yeah, I was
the other
thinking
day
about that
when we were all in on him. So you can certainly like it's a 10-game slate, so there's a lot of options, especially with these value guys that you're probably going to play in cash. But
Quickly also posted 35 fantasy points in that game. It was a really good game for his price, and he didn't score overly well. He shot really low percentage from the field, and he wasn't really looking to score as much. Like in the games prior, he shot 16 and 17 times in 27 and 25 minutes, plus had free throws. Against Chicago, he played 30 minutes and only shot 13 times, 4 free throws, which was actually not bad, but you get the point. He wasn't looking for a shot, and he still scored 35.
Yeah, Quickly's super good tournament play today. Not going to be owned. Once again, he wasn't owned the other day anyways, but he's not going to be owned.
Yep.
I think that about does it for the positional plays. If you guys have any last minute questions, you can drop those in. Bales, you can give me a bold call for this 10-game slate.
I'm not changing it. I'm keeping it. Quickly drops 30 plus real points tonight.
Going right back to it.
Back to it.
That was both of ours the other day. He did drop 30 fantasy points, so that was
we'll
good.
take a.
But yeah, run it back. I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
I'll go with man. I'm gonna go with Luka 30-point triple double. I think it's gonna be mine.
That's pretty solid. Someone said core for today. Sorry, just got here. You can rewatch this. It'll as soon as we're done streaming live, you'll just be able to rewatch this. But some core guys that Ben and I like, we like both guys from Boston. Luka Sabonis on DraftKings. Ben's not as high on him as I am, but it's just really a price tag thing. Maladon. That's a pretty wide core already. So rewatch if you want to look at everyone else that we said, but there's a few players that we're really high on tonight.
Yep, I agree. If you guys have any other questions, you can hit us up in Discord. I'll have final thoughts up around an hour before lock. Gonna go work on those right now. Hopefully we get some of this injury news rolling. That could really affect the slate. Be nice to know that in advance.
No, there's no way. It's gonna be like Nasir Little last night.
Yeah, that was a drag, man. Yeah, so dude, that was a drag, and then we played Simons, whatever his name is. I don't even know.
Yeah.
There's only one M, and then he got hurt and barely played, so that was great.
And then Kevin Looney
got
hurt.
Yeah, and then Looney got hurt too. It's awesome.
Yeah, a little bit of everything.
Yeah, and then Pascal might as well have been hurt because he didn't do anything. But all right, thank you guys for watching, and good luck tonight.